So, as you all know, that these talks are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. In fact, when the draft document had come out a few years back, even then we had gone to different cities and we had organized a lot of interactions with education leaders. And collectively, we had shared hundreds of sessions with the MHRD and CBSE and other stakeholders even then. So when this final policy came out in the last week of July, since then we have spoken with hundreds of education leaders, and we realized that we need to invite, we need to bring all these stakeholders, all the education leaders on a single platform to understand their perspective on national education policy. So with that thought, we had launched our first session on August 26th, and here we are with our 95th session. So as you know, that India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education. It's also trying to build quality centers for elementary education, which are approachable to all kids, finding best educational practices across the globe, and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It also tries to create more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for the institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you know, that this is our 95th session. During our last 94 sessions, we have received 8,722 registrations, 7,935 questions on national education policy. We have seen participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal. From India, we have seen participation from 19 states and 83 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators and 20,000 institutions. 1,000 plus eminent speakers will be joining us, like today's speakers, to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. With this, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, Kovalika Pal, ma'am. Uh, she's principal with the Vidya Bharati School. In fact, she needs no introduction. Uh, uh, she is a passionate educationist for past 3 decades. She excels in curriculum planning, development, and implementation, and likes to take on new projects towards innovation in educational strategies. She has done MA in English, MSc in Environmental Science, and B.Ed. Under her leadership, her school has received acknowledgement at global platform like UNESCO. She has also received. Her school has also received ISA Award, International School Award from British Council in 2019 to 2021. She has a partnership with a very prestigious school of Poland. She is a winner of many awards for her contribution to the field of education, like Dr. Rajendra Prasad Award by Eminent International Education and Savitri Bhai Phule Samman 2020. We welcome you, Sovenika ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to
Thank
have
you
you.
so very much. Thank you so much.
I also congratulate you for your, that special award for, this Republic Day. You have your school has been recognized as a very special school, by the government of India, on this Republic Day.
I would like to add here, sir, that my school has won the first position in the Republic Day parade. So,
Wonderful,
and my
amazing.
students, along with my chairperson and director, are there to receive the award. My chairperson, Miss Prachi Grover, was supposed to be part of this show, of this talk, but now I'm replacing her. And thank you so very much for acknowledging us.
Congratulations once again. It's an honor for all of us, ma'am. Thank you, for joining us today. Our second key speaker, Deepak Agrawal sir. Deepak ji is principal with Titonas International School, Badai, Uttar Pradesh. He's done a postgraduate. He's a postgraduate in English literature from Lucknow University. He has also done 1 year's specialization in linguistic and phonetics, MA. He has done BA from Gorakhpur University, Bachelor of Education in 1983. He has decades of experience in the field of education. He has a vision for comprehensive value-based education. He has been the CBSE appointed city coordinator of Bareilly and Shahjahanpur for about 3 years. He has worked with many prestigious schools like BBL Public School Bareilly, SK Public Senior Secondary School Khatima Uttarakhand, Lions Bal Vidya Mandir Senior Secondary School Pilibhit, Maheshi Bal Vidya Mandir Public School Lucknow. C.D. Birla Memorial Public School, Ranikhet, Manasthali Public School, Bareilly, C.P. Vidyaniketan, Farrukhabad, Colvin Talukdar College, Lucknow. He has been promoting extracurricular activities like workshops, seminars, different competitions, cultural extravaganzas, sports, excursion tours towards complete physical, mental, and social development of students and giving them education of 4 H's, which are head, heart, humanity, and health. He has been awarded and recognized for his contribution to the field of education many times. We welcome you, Deepak sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank
It's an
you.
honor to have.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. Our next key speaker, Dr. Anjali Priyadarshini. She is the associate professor with SRM University in the Department of Biotechnology and Biomedical Engineering. She has done her postgraduate from Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, and doctorate from Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. She has more than 12 years of teaching and research experience from Delhi Technological University and University of Delhi. Her research interests are infectious disease, immunology, biosensor, and cancer biology. She has been recently awarded with a project by ICMR and has published 4 books. We welcome you, Anjali ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Mr. Jaswinder Singh. Jaswinder sir is founder and CEO of Wordsworth ELT. Wordsworth ELT, Wordsworth English Lab, is designed for India and is highly research initiative of ACT UNIF Group. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education, and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia, and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations and institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and continual service provided by ACT UNIF and its committed network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajul. Thank you so much.
Welcome, sir. Our next key speaker, Mr. Savio John. Savio is the National Head of Quality with Torrens. Savio is a professional musician, specifically a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. He has been performing since a very young age and has toured multiple cities, performing in various venues. He's also a gospel musician and has featured on multiple TV shows. He's currently working with Torrens Music and heading quality and delivery excellence in India. In the past 8 years, he has been working with institutions engaged in vocational education, handling business development and strategy and implementation. Savio has been vocal about music, vocal about making music a compulsory subject in schools, as the creativity, discipline, and communication that it demands would help students become better individuals. Savio has authored the vocal curriculum for Torrens and conducts vocal workshops across various schools. We welcome you, Savio John. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajulji. Thank you.
So with this, I'll come back to our speakers, for your opening remark first, and then I'll come back to you again for your main talk. So for opening remark, I would request please take 1 minute and to share your opening remarks. So first, I would request Sovinika Pal, ma'am, ma'am, if we can have your quick 1 minute opening remark. You need to unmute yourself. Sovinika, ma'am, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
You're audible, ma'am.
So first of all, good morning, all of you. And I'm happy to share this platform with my co-speakers. I've heard their profile and it sounds wonderful. Now the feature of NEP that I have chosen to speak today is on teacher empowerment. And this is very close to my heart since I am a teacher myself and I work closely with many other teachers. So NEP has come up with many facets of teacher empowerment, which will actually now encourage the young people to join the education career, which is now, I'm very sorry, I feel disheartened to say, which is now looked down upon by these youngsters. So allowing me to speak on this topic so near to my heart and dear to my heart is fantastic. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sominika ma'am. We'll come back to you. We all are very excited to hear your ideas and perspective on that. I'll come back to you for your main talk. With this, now I would request Deepak sir, sir, if we can have your quick opening remark. Sir, you are on mute, Deepak sir. Deepak sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, good morning to all the participants in this session. I am Deepak Agrawal, and I feel proud and honored to be one of the key speakers in the 86th session of Leadership Talks, a virtual classes. In fact, I was so happy when I was given this offer simply because the organizers of this International Education Council, I acknowledge and give a great credit to all the wonderful and dedicated organizers of leadership talks that in the first session, rather first season, they organized 44 sessions in a very short span of less than 3 months only, in which 5 countries participated. And surely their contribution in the upliftment and implementation of NEP, and particularly early childhood care and education is commendable. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak sir, for that. I'll come back to you for your main talk. And now I would request Jaswinder sir, if we can have your opening remark.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here with all the eminent educationists on the panel. I actually come from the field of language teaching and language learning. So my focus today is going to be upon what is happening under NEP 2020 to the language component. We're talking about teaching using the local language. What is going to be the plight of English? How are we going to cope up and what needs to be done? I also happen to be a person from the technology field, so I would also talk about how technology can make things happen in a better way, because there's a lot of thought. People are wondering how such a huge disruption can be managed. So I'm going to talk on that. Over to you, Rajulji. Over to you. I will now take up during my next part of the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on that. That's very important area. Thank you for joining, and I'll come back to you. Now, I would request Savio John from Torrance. Savio, can we have your opening remark?
A very good morning to everybody. Thank you, Rajulji. Congratulations on the 95th session. I must really compliment and admire the consistency by which you are doing these sessions. And there are so many eminent speakers who come in and share their ideas. It is such a learning experience for all of us. And just five short for a century. And hopefully that will also be happening very soon. So, talking about the NEP, it speaks about introducing arts classics,
Turn to
history,
captions. May I'll
literature.
come to
Yes, Savio, please go ahead.
Yeah, arts classics, music, literature, and other performing arts. And we as music aggregators find it a very, very welcome move. And like I've always said, considering that music itself has been mentioned over 20 times in the NEP, I feel that well-formed courses at the fundamental level will lead to a proper selection of course choices later on. And I look forward to the rest of this discussion, Rajulji. Thank you.
Thank you, Savio. I'll come back to you. So with this, we come to the next part of our session, which is the main talk session. And all the speakers will get 8 to 10 minutes. So I would request all our speakers, if you can just restrict your thoughts with the time limit, that is 10 minutes per speaker, so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. So with this, before I invite the first speaker up, I must share the learnings which we have had during our 94 sessions. During our last 94 sessions, almost every speaker maintained that this is a wonderful document. This NEP, National Education Policy document, has a potential to place India at that coveted place of, Vishwa Gyan Guru. But almost everyone apprehended that, execution is going to be a key challenge. A lot of educators said finance would be a huge challenge. Many educators maintain that, many good schools in metro cities or good urban areas, they are already implementing these, these policies. But challenge would be for government schools, budget schools, schools in villages. Many people also said, which Sovenika ma'am is also going to talk about in detail, that teachers training is going to be key. We need to create capacity building programs for teachers. That is going to be a challenge. A lot of people, gave the example of failure of CCE, and we have Deepak Agarwal sir, who is an expert, who is an authority on CCE. So a lot of people said like CCE was also a wonderful initiative, but got failed due to poor execution. So I'm sure Deepak sir would be sharing more details, from that perspective. So with this, now I would request our first key speaker for this very special session, Sovenika Pal ma'am. Sovenika ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, you are on mute. Sovenika ma'am, you are on mute.
Yeah, actually got in the habit of, being on mute so that, the bandwidth, it does not suffer. So thank you. First of all, I would thank India International Education Council for this 95th session on NEP and for hearing me. And I would also like to thank Career Undid, SRM University, and Puterdos School of Music. So here I go with my viewpoints. Uh, Undoubtedly, I have got a very short period to go through, glance through, and review myself what I'm going to speak about, but I'll try to do justice. So, undoubtedly, the demographic size of our nation may defeat us. But there is one common factor that can turn the tide and lead the Indian education system out of its current morass of aimlessness and inflexibility to become a progressive, multidisciplinary, technology, and skill focused nation is our ability to produce competitive, creative, skilled, and employed learners, students. And undoubtedly, the common factor is our teacher. So, and the national education policy very clearly says that teachers, they truly shape our nation, our children, and therefore the future of the nation. So by empowering the teacher, will actually have the potential to move the mountains, the ground realities, and uh, the ground realities, sorry, they are actually very, very different. Nowadays, the teachers are not getting the suitable training, the B.Ed programs, the trainings that they get are actually not sufficient to check on to the classes. Whatever we learn in the books, it remains in the books. But when we go and face the classes, when the teacher goes and faces the classes, it's a completely different environment. I hope all my co-teachers and my co-speakers would agree to this. Now, NEP does not actually blame these conditions, but has come up with many proposals, many reforms, systematic reforms that would help the teaching profession emerge as an attractive career for the bright and talented young students. Now, I would come on NEP's proposal for the pre-service teacher education. Now, based on recommendations of NEP, our National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, NCFTE 2021 will be drafted to guide all teacher education, be it pre-service, in service of all kinds of teachers working in academic, vocational, and special education streams. There will be a 4-year integrated B.Ed, the minimal degree qualification for school teaching, and it is being conceived as a multidisciplinary and integrated dual, meaning that it would be a bachelor's degree in education as well as a specialized subject. The admission of to this course will be through suitable and aptitude tests conducted by the National Testing Agency. Now, the NEP also holds in it that all the multidisciplinary universities have been directed to set up an exclusive education department and to run B.Ed programs in collaboration with other departments such as psychology, philosophy, sociology, even neurosciences, languages, arts, music, history, literature, physical education, mathematics, you name it, and it is there. And in addition to this, they will also carry out cutting edge researches in various aspects of education to enhance the quality of B.Ed program that would be, imparted to the upcoming teachers. Now, this is very, very different and much more intricate, much more illustrative than the current bachelor in education program that the teachers, would be teachers, are undergoing nowadays. The proposed B.Ed degree will teach a range of knowledge content, pedagogy that and would include very strong practical training. Practical training that nowadays actually lacks in the B.Ed training. Nowadays, the practical training is just of 16 weeks. The teachers, they come, they get associated with the already, qualified teachers. They do not, many times they do not get an individual class. There is an assistant teacher or a senior teacher who guides them to teach. Very seldom it happens that the teacher, the student teacher or the trainee is competent enough or has the confidence to take up, take up a class or to address the students. So the training time of now's, say, 3 months or 4 months, say the 16 weeks training time goes away in, settling the class and then understanding the class. And only, say, if I talk about the teachers who come to me for training, they hardly get the real time experience of just a fortnight, right? But the proposed B.Ed degree will include effective trainings in pedagogy, on foundational literacy, numeracy. There will be multi-level teaching and evaluation, teaching the children with disabilities, uh, and usage of the educational technology, and it would be learner-centered and collaborative learning. All this, these kinds of trainings, they will receive in advance. They will be, you know, mm, uh, um, they will be not only taught, but they will be given experiential learning of all these aspects well in advance before they face the real classroom teaching. Now, there is a proposal that there would be a short B.Ed certification course also, uh, for the growth of teacher who wish to move into more specialization areas. It would be like a super specialization kind of a thing. And for example, if a teacher wishes to get into leadership or management positions in the schooling system, or to move from one stage to another between foundational, preparatory, middle, or secondary stages, then there would be a linking or a short B.Ed certification course. Now, there is also a provision that all the fresh PhD entrants will be required to take credit-based courses in their teaching, education, pedagogy, writing related to their chosen subject during their doctoral training period, including actual teaching experience gathered through teaching assistantships. So that is again a very welcome thing. Now I would quickly move on to the teacher recruitment and employment. For recruitment and in any kind of private or government school, the teacher will have to qualify teacher eligibility test, TET. Now we have seated, uh, but it would be TET. The teacher will have to give a compulsory demonstration class, pass the interview, and it would be essential to have the knowledge of a special, a colloquial or local language. The NEP provides that the teacher eligibility test will be extended to cover teachers all across the new stages, that is fundamental, preparatory, middle, and secondary. For subject teachers, the TET, as well as the NTA test, that is the National Testing Agency test scores in the corresponding subjects, will be considered for recruitment. Now, that would be a real-time test for all the teachers, because the dual test scores will be considered both by the government and the private schools to recruit the teachers in their services. The NEP also promotes the idea of recruiting teachers to school complex and then sharing them across the group of schools to deal with the shortage of teachers, particularly for the activities teachers like music, dance, art, craft, school counselors, coaches, the vocational education teachers, the classical um, um, dance and music teachers, the language teachers, the special educators, and the technical and the maintenance staff. Now the NEP has also a very good feature of encouraging the school complexes to hire local eminent persons or experts as the master instructors in various subjects, such as in the traditional local arts, vocational crafts, entrepreneurship, agriculture, etc., to meet the demand of teachers to teach the newly introduced technologies or skill subjects or the classical languages and art. Now I'm rushing on to
Ma'am, you're on mute, ma'am. Ma'am, you've gone on mute, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry for this technical glitch. The NEP 2020 also talks of creating creating performance standards for teacher, clearly spelling out the role of teacher at different levels of expertise, stage, and competencies required for that exclusive standard. And it is also said that by 2022, a set of national professional standards for teachers and PST will be created that would determine all aspects of teacher training, career management, including their tenure, continuous professional development efforts, their salary increases, promotions, and other kinds of recognitions. The NEP 2020 also talks of teacher audit or performance that has to be, you know, uh, learned very carefully or listened to very carefully. Teacher audit or teacher performance appraisals that would be carried out at regular intervals. And these standards for performance appraisals will be formulated. Henceforth, the promotions and salary increases will not occur on the length of tenure or seniority, but would be based on these kinds of appraisals only. Now, what happens that a teacher completes a specific tenure, supposedly uh, 10 years, then MACP happens, the automatic career progression or that automatic, pay increase or going to a next grade, it happens automatically. Now, it would all be appraisal based. The another thing that is that what which I like about the teacher empowerment is the mandatory 50 hours of capacity building training or CPD opportunities every year to keep the teachers updated by attending workshops or online teaching development modules. School principals will also have to undergo the CPD in modules related to leadership, school management, and for implementing competency-based learning. In addition to all these, international pedagogical approaches will be studied by NCERT. It will be identified and recommended for assimilation in the pedagogical practices in India through the CPDs. Now, for teacher upliftment, the recognition of the contribution of teachers can make um, or can have a very strong pedestal in reforming pedagogy to improve the learning income outcomes, actually, the learning objectives. The NEP gives teachers the autonomy in selecting appropriate pedagogy according to their class type, according to the standard of the students they are teaching, and encourages them to ensure socio-economic learning of the students, which is a very critical aspect of holistic learning. Now, innovative teaching methods adopted by teachers to improve the learning outcomes will be recognized, documented, and shared widely as recommended practices. Close collaboration is also recommended amongst the schools within the school complex, as it will reduce the teacher isolation experienced by teachers in smaller schools and create vibrant communication and opportunities, which will help the teacher work collaboratively, and they would get the opportunity to share their best teaching practices, and which will actually help the teachers to enhance and get accolades, recognition of the practices they are following. Now, to help the schools and school complexes evolve into caring and inclusive communities of teachers, students, and parents, principals, the school managements have been told to ensure educate, adequate and safe infrastructure, basic amenities and hygiene, computing devices, internets, libraries, sports and recreational resources, uh, for all teachers and students. Now, concluding and unquoting the words of Benjamin Disraeli, the secret of success is to be ready with the opportunities, welcoming the opportunities that come to you. For all the Indian teachers, the time has come to seize the opportunity and become makers of their own destiny. So hold on and uh, grab on the national education policy and be an empowered teacher and empower your children to adopt this beautiful career of teaching. So thank you so very much. I hope I have been able to come across you because I got a very small time period to, review my thoughts and collect them and present them to you. I'm very sorry if I went wrong anywhere.
Thank you, so Vinika ma'am. You talked about these very important areas, and the key was teachers' empowerment. You talked about this how this NEP, National Education Policy, is going to empower teachers, and you concluded at a very very positive note that this NEP is an opportunity for teachers to empower themselves to define their own destiny. This NEP offers them this opportunity. You talked about a lot of important points. You talked about that national performance, professional standard, for teachers would be a great initiative. You also talked about that how this mandatory 50 hours CPD for teachers and leaders, in their respective domain would create an impact. You talked about why we should teach. We all know that the teachers are the key strength for any nation because they are the people who shape the nation. You talked about that part in good detail, and you also talked about where actually our current teachers training lack in practicality, in real exposure, and you also suggested many important solutions for that. So thank you, so Vanika ma'am. I'll come back to you with questions. So thank you for sharing all these important points. Uh, Thank you very much. I'll come back to you.
Right. Thank you so very much.
With this, now I would request Deepak Agrawal sir. Deepak sir, over to you. Your part, Deepak sir.
Thank you very much. Just a minute, let me open the.
No, no problem. Please take your time, sir.
Yeah. I shall be sharing the screen through, I'm presenting it through PPT.
Right, sir. We can see your screen.
Well, I'm up with my this PPT. I think that all of you are able to see it now.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. In fact, the topic assigned to me is the early childhood care national challenge with global perspective, setting the stage. In fact, when for the first time I got the hard copy of NEP 2020 and I went through it, I came to a conclusion that this policy would have been prepared long back. Perhaps we had been a little late with it. And this NEP 2020 is so well packed and well blended to make the education so worthwhile and to make the teachers more caring, more dedicated, and surely with this NEP, we shall be taking the education to new scales, to new heights. So far, the early childhood education, especially from the age of 3 to 6 years, was untapped. And the NEP only says that 85% of the brain of a child develops during the age of 3 to 6 years, and which we had totally ignored. And therefore, now our attention, our care towards early childhood care and education is surely to bring in drastic changes. There is a quotation by Mariam Montessori that the goal of early education, childhood education, should be to activate the child's own natural desire to learn. As a matter of fact, we do not let a child activate his or her natural desire to learn. We, the educationists at our schools, at times ask the students that they cannot choose the subjects of their choice. And the parents at times, they want to thirst upon their desire, the subjects of their desire on their children. If a father could not become a doctor or engineer, he feels that he will make his son or daughter a doctor or engineer. And it should not be there at all. All of us are very well aware about the previous academic structure and the new pedagogical and curricular structure. In fact, there is a difference between the previous academic structure and the new academic structure. Previous academic structure was rather two-layered, whereas the new one is four-layered. The previous one was not tabbing the students from the age of 3 to 6 years, but the present one, the new one, is tabbing the students from the children from age 3 to 6, which is the most important part of this National Education Policy 2020. New pedagogical and curricular structure of school education. It is divided into four parts. That is secondary stage, multidisciplinary study, greater critical thinking, flexibility, and student choice of subjects. Middle stage, that is of 3 years experiential learning in the sciences, mathematics, arts, social sciences, and humanities. Then preparatory stage, play discovery and activity based and interactive classroom teaching. Finally, foundational stage, that is a 5 years multi-level play activity based learning. In fact, what I feel that the changes which this policy aims to bring in education will be starting from foundational stage. And this is the place, this is the stage where we educationists can focus our maximum attention to bring in all the desired results. The vision of early childhood care and education, as I had just said, that over 80%, 85% of child's cumulative brain development occurs prior to the age of 6. And so far, before this NEP, we had not been taking up the students, the children from age group of 3 to 6 into consideration. And it means we had been not tabbing, not harnessing the mental capability of the children, of crores of children of this age group. Early education, early childhood care and education is not available to children from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. This is the place where, when we talk about setting the stage, that perhaps we shall again fail like we had failed in implementing CCE. CCE, virtually to my mind, miserably fizzled out, simply because we had not been able to set a perfect stage from where we could shoot CCE. But we should, taking the experience of CCE, implementation of CCE, we should take care that this ECCE does not fail. And to make it all successful and to reap all the fruits which this ECCE would produce, we should tab the children, particularly from economically poor families, from tribal areas, and for this purpose, we will have to make the places from where we will start ECCE, that are Anganwadis, Balvatikas, etc. There we have to give a worthwhile infra. We have to give well qualified teachers. We have to keep the infra all hygienic, and only then we shall be able to implement early childhood care and education in a real sense. ECC to give young children to access to educational system. This is also, in fact, a tool in our hands, in the hands of the educationists, where we can start education, we can give education to that particular class of children which so far had been totally ignored. ECC is universal provisioning of quality early childhood development achieved as soon as possible 2030. This time period 2030 is definitely good enough that during these 10 years, we the educationists have enough time to prepare and to implement it. Objectives of ECCE. ECCE promotes holistic development of child, prepares child for formal schooling, contributes in universal elementary education, and reduces waste and stagnation of primary school. With these objectives of ECC, surely we shall be promoting a comprehensive, complete development of a child. We shall be able to prepare child for formal schooling, which virtually shall be starting from the age of 6, and that is class 1. The most, the most, rather the biggest challenge which ECCC shall be imposing on us, how to set the stage, how to set the stage, and from where we can implement it successfully. In fact, we have to create learning situation. We have to motivate the child who has to learn. And at the same time, I would like to add from my end that we have to motivate the parents also, particularly from rural areas, from tribal areas, who are still all hesitant in sending their children to the schools. Arranging for conditions which assist in the growth of the child's mind and body, utilizing the initiative and play urges of the children to facilitate learning, turning the children into creative beings. Instead of making a child a bookworm, we should make him or her a creative one, inspiring children with nobility of thoughts, feelings, and actions, giving information and explaining it, diagnosing learning problems, making curricular material, and evaluating, recording, and reporting is the final stage. I will like to skip this slide. India's commitment. In fact, the implementation of NEP in itself is commitment of the nation toward the upliftment of education in this country, to give worthwhile education rather. 86th Constitutional Amendment, Article 21, is part of NEP. The state shall endeavor to provide ECCE to all children until they complete the age of 6 years. When I had gone through this new education policy, I was to a great extent a satisfied person that imparting education, to take initiative to impart education from the age of 3 instead of from the age of 6, I could feel that we have won the battle of comprehensive good education with this new thing only. Now, the vision is with us that we should tap the education, tap the children from the age of 3. Only thing we have to do is to implement it perfectly. Several international conventions, summits, and resolutions right to right of children free and compulsory education is free and compulsory education is was already there, but we have to ensure that parents, again I'll say, from the rural areas, backward areas, or typically backward areas, the parents should be persuaded that they ensure that their children come to school, come to Anganwadis, every day. And if we fail here, I'm sure we will fail with ECCE again. In the implementation of ECCE, gaps and challenges both are very apparently visible. Low awareness and clarity regarding early childhood care and that we have to, as I have just said, that we have to educate parents, we have to persuade the parents that they should send their children, send their daughters, send their sons to the Anganwadis and Balvatikas. And if we fail here, we shall fail in implementing ECC also. In fact, society and families have to be rather convinced that without education, without early education, without complete education, a child is going nowhere in his future life. Sense of policy, curriculum, and action framework at all levels. Issue of access, diversity, standards, and quality. Parental aspirations and commercialization. Weak linkages with family and community. In fact, community and family, we have to link in a perfect way. Weak linkages of ECCD, resource centers, universities, learning centers, inadequate human resource, professional courses, training, and personal preparation. Inadequate attention and investment in child development can also prove to be a big gap, big challenge. Lower harmonization of efforts, absence of comprehensive strategy, absence of allocation of roles and responsibilities, they can also prove to be pitfalls in the implementation of ECCE. We, the teachers, we, the educationists, have to be very well aware of these possible pitfalls. Absence of the system of regulation and comprehensive child development legislation has to be brought in. Teaching in current time and modern approach. The traditional approach is based on memorization. And as a matter of fact, stress on memorization should be replaced by emphasizing the development of critical thinking power. Lecture-based teaching learning should be replaced by activity-based learning. And only then we shall be able to make the education all worthwhile. Teacher is responsible subject matter preparation and administrators. In fact, teacher is responsible for subject matter preparation, managing instructional environment and diagnose students. In fact, in our traditional approach, traditional structure, diagnosis was completely absent, which we have to implement very judiciously. Authoritative attitude of teacher which had never been appreciated, which had never been approved. Classroom environment rather should reflect freedom and spontaneity. Authoritative attitude, particularly with the students in the classroom, to my mind, kills the teaching and learning atmosphere in the class. Early child education has been stated to be the most effective economic development tool available to states. It's time to recognize that as we are seeing more buoyancy in our economy, it's time to address this, or we will fall further behind our neighboring states and our international competitors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak sir, for highlighting how important this inclusion in this policy is. You talked about, and the key was the strong foundation at early childhood, or in during those
Yes.
early years, builds this strong future. And this is the biggest differentiation between the last policies and this current policy. And you talked about a lot of other areas. Why what was lacking in CCE, that it excluded that socio-economic disadvantage, the class of a society. The fruits of early childhood education were not being offered to them. You also talked about this NEP has a potential to take our education to new heights and new scale. you know you began with a line. NEP is a well packed and blended document, which is creating a huge value for everyone involved. So thank you, Deepak sir. I'll
Yes.
come back to you with questions. I'll come back to you, sir, with questions. So with this, I would request Jaswinder sir, sir, if we can have your idea. And meanwhile, I must recognize the presence of you know Miss Anjali Priyadarshini ji. Dr. Anjali Priyadarshini has joined us. Thank you, Dr. Anjali ji, for joining, and welcome. Now, I would request Jaswinder sir, your part.
Thank you, Rajulji, and thank you, Deepak sir, and Savanika ma'am, for the wonderful insight that you've given, both on teacher training and early childhood care and education. Yes, NEP is a very strong document, and what we call it, that it is going to bring in a lot of disruption in education, the current system. But I think this disruption is very much required if we really want to become, the guru of the world, which we were long back. Um, the rulers, the earlier rulers, right from the Mughals to the Britishers, they actually killed our education system, and it's time now that we come back to that. Okay, I'm going to focus more on points on the language because that is what we do. I come from a company which works on language development. We work with some 3,000 schools and more than 1 million students on a daily basis. Primarily, we focus more on English as a language, but I would start here that the government bringing in an option for schools to actually teach using the mother tongue in the early foundation years is something that is very laudable. It's something very good that they brought in, because what I actually understand is that the foundations are best understood in your mother tongue. Understand one simple thing: when the child enters school, even if it is a preschool, he already knows his mother tongue. So whatever you explain goes straight to him. What we are trying to do is, on one side, we are giving him language, we're teaching him a language, and we're teaching other things also. When he has not acquired the language, how will he understand other things in that particular language? So this is something very, very important, and I'm so glad that they have taken it up. And I'm sure this will help the ECCE part also, because the students should not be scared of going to school, okay, especially when it comes to the early years. And if we communicate, or if we start teaching them in their mother tongue, that's something good. But along with that, we cannot underestimate or put aside English as a language. That is a language which binds our country. That's a language that is the business language of the world. So what I understand is, along with the mother tongue, English two should be given due advantage, and I'm sure it is going to be taken up. One important thing, that schools are not forced to teach in mother tongue. They can opt for English as a language of instruction, but giving both of them would be good. The other third thing is bringing in classical languages. India is home to the maximum number of languages of the world. These languages have got scriptures and information which is very, very valuable. Because we are losing out on these languages, this important information is being lost. Look at Germany. They got Sanskrit, and they are getting to know what early Indians have done, and they're making money out of it. They're making sense out of it. So bringing in a classical language like Tamil or like Sanskrit is very important. You'll be, I'm happy to share with you that our company has come up with a Sanskrit lab, the first Sanskrit teaching lab in the world, which is already implemented in 450 plus Kendriya Vidyalayas. We are doing it everywhere. But what we are trying to say is language should be given due importance. Like we said that during the early childhood level, by the age of 8, a child can acquire up to 5 languages. What we are talking is, let's expose to them to at least 3 languages: the mother tongue, the classical language, and a foreign language. In her case, it will be English. One more important thing, research says that if a student or a child is able to speak 3 or more languages, the brain works better. They can analyze better. The brain becomes stronger. So that again is an important thing. So during the early years, I would say, when we are talking about literacy, language plays an important part. Numeracy equally plays an important part. But I would also say is that we should teach them social skills. If you are good socially, all other things fall in place. So that's an important point. So Vanika ma'am talked about teacher training. Ma'am, I second you on teacher training, because in our country, teachers become teachers. Oh, one fine day, I'm a teacher. Okay, you're right. We need to bring in the right kind of talent. There's such a lot of good talent. If it is tapped at early ages, that 4 years of training will definitely do a lot of good to our country, because these teachers are the ones who are working on development of our next generation. Okay, not all kids are fortunate enough to get good teachers. I always give this example. Our company has trained more than 25,000 teachers in India in the last 15 years. I always tell teachers, if there's a child, if he's doing well in a particular subject, it is not because he's intelligent, it's because he likes his teacher. If you love your teacher, you do good, or you do well in that subject. So teachers have to be taught that compassion part, that part of delivery. How do you manage kids? More than acquiring subject knowledge, you need to acquire how to cater to kids when they are learning. Believe me, if this is taken up, any amount of knowledge can be acquired at a later stage also. But how to deliver, how to manage, how to cater is something very, very important. I personally work a lot with teacher training, so this is something that I would always put up. And coming from the language side, we always say that whenever you are delivering a language session, go down to the child level and deliver it. The child will learn better. Most teachers, what they do, this is just an example. A lot of teachers, what they do, they let students know that I know this much. That is not the point. The point is, I know as much as you. Let's go and learn together. That's something that we are talking about. Okay, so I have covered about what we are talking about, teaching through the mother tongue in foundation years, having more than two, that means 3 or 3 plus languages, is something very simple. Students at the age of 8 or by the age of 8 can acquire up to 5 languages. That is something very, very important. Okay. The challenge here is, how do we deliver so much? How can we as teachers teach students or make them acquire 3 languages at a time? The answer is technology. Answer to any and every hurdle that you feel NEP is putting forward is technology. You can teach them more languages using technology. You can train teachers using technology, because there's a huge, huge mass of teachers. We are talking about adding 2 crore more students. That means coming up with 50 more schools every week. I don't know how that's possible, but infrastructure wise, even if they make it, it is important that we get the right kind of teachers. So training them is going to be a challenge. And I think again, technology plays a part. And our teachers during this pandemic have actually understood, realized, learned how technology can help them. The second most important thing is assessments. Okay, we need to work on our assessments, not on the testing part. We should not have testing platforms, we should have assessment platforms, and they should be at a regular interval. If you want to do this mammoth task, again, technology is something that will help you get onto that. Okay, so what we need to do is work on that. And one more important thing that a lot of time people have not put their focus, or they've not focused on that, is that reading as a habit is increasingly going down. Our students are not reading. It is not only our students, our teachers are not reading as much as they should do. So reading is something that should be promoted, because if a child starts or forms the habit of reading, there is no dearth to the amount of material that is available on the internet or in the print media. We as a company, we started promoting digital libraries. Students listen to stories, students read their stories, students record their stories, and ultimately the teachers can assist them. So something that I want to talk about is language and numeracy both play a very important part. So we need to pay a lot of attention right from the early career. Not only that, not only foundation, during the middle and the secondary section, years of education, all that needs to be worked on, and that's what is going to take us further. One more thing, NEP, like somebody said, is a very good vehicle, okay, to take our country to the next level. And that next level is to become the Vishwaguru, as uh, Rajulji always talks about Vishwaguru. Education is the only thing that can take up. The only point here is that we need to invest more time, more money, put in more efforts. And as educationists, it is the onus is on us to actually take it to that level. The government or the policymakers have done their part. It's now our part, and let's together take it to where it has to go. Thank you. Over to you, Rajulji.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir. Absolutely, we all agree with you that government has done its part. Now it's our duty to execute it in a most effective way. So thank you, Jaswinder sir, for highlighting these all important areas. I'll come back to you with questions. Now I would request Savio John from Torrance Music. Savio, thank you for joining, and now over to you, your part.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajulji. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your valuable thoughts and ideas. I would like to just begin by talking about where the company came from. I'm from Torrance Music, and we came from the United States of America 13 years back, and we are in over 200 public schools in the United States of America. These public schools are mostly cash strapped. They have a lot of financial issues, and it gets a little difficult for them to manage their finances. They do not get exorbitant funding, so they are mostly bootstrapped throughout the year. What happens is that in spite of such a situation, we see that their labs, their music labs are very good. Every child gets an opportunity to play one single instrument. Now, if a kid wants to play the guitar, what we see in most of the schools in our country is that there are four children or five children wanting, to learn the guitar, play the guitar. But you will find one kid who's playing the guitar and three, four children who are just waiting that his turn gets over, and then the other kid can come and play the guitar. But by that time, the period is over, and then the other kids do not get an opportunity to play. Compare this situation to the US. What happens is that there are many instruments, okay, like 30, 40 guitars, 30, 40 drums, keyboards, and so every kid gets an opportunity to play. Now, this is the kind of shift we also need to be seeing in the country, in India. This is the kind of setup which we still do not see in even the premium schools around. And unless we allow our children a one on one access to these facilities, we are never going to see the change and value addition which we desire. Technology, like we were speaking about technology a while back, there are certain software which are available, there are certain tools which are available through which children can get an idea if they want to learn theory of music, or probably work on their oral side of things. that is ear training, and all these aspects. That is where technology can be used to show videos, to show the material, and it can be used in a great way. But at the end of the day, if a child wants to learn the guitar, he will practically have to hold a guitar in his hand. That cannot be substituted with technology. And a great amount of research has already been done in music. And there are so many studies which show that music directly impacts the cognitive development of children, whether it is emotional development, social development, motor skills, responsiveness. All these areas are developed if a child is listening to a certain amount of music every day. And music always has a positive influence on humans. Music is used as a tool to bring people together. And in our country as well, from years and years, there have been so many different forms of music. And they say that Hindustani classical music is the most complete form of music. And there is also research. It was done on children in the womb of the mother. What happens is that when the woman is pregnant, and if the woman listens to classical music, there is a lot of development which is happening inside the child, when the child is still in the womb and not born. Given the current situation, we are seeing that children between the ages of 6 and 14 are going through situations and mental conditions which were probably previously not heard before, like depression, anxiety, ADHD, stress. And most of the times, children also have suicidal thoughts, given the problems of competition, and given the achievement, the way achievement is put forward, and in their tuition classes, and for cracking these examinations. So there is a lot of stress overall. What children can do is, if they have something like music with them, if they probably learn an instrument like a guitar or a keyboard or anything, they could always get back to it, and it works as an excellent stress buster. And the amount of time a child is spending right now digitally, the screen problem, I feel it is a great issue which again needs to be addressed. So putting children to physical activities like playing the guitar, probably sports or a dance or something, is definitely going to improve the quality of life. One of the most renowned music directors of the country, Mr. Ehsan Nurani of Shankar Ehsan Loy. Mr. Ehsan Nurani also happens to be one of the directors in Torrens Music. And he would say, when he would be preparing for his exams, there would be some music playing in the background. So that would help him focus, and that would help him, um, grasp his subjects in a much better way. I remember a few months back when things were on and running and Corona had not come down. Uh, I met the principal of a very reputed school in Nagpur. We were already doing this music program with them. She called me and wanted me to discuss with her. So when I sat with her, when I spoke to her, she said that there has been up to a 100% reduction in situations like classroom violence and destruction of property. Now, the whole idea behind this is that there is a lot of residual energy in the children. The whole day they are sitting in classes. When they see their friends, they get excited, and then there is a lot of energy which needs to be, utilized or channelized somewhere. So, if we do not give them the right kind of thing, so 100% it is going to be shown in something which is probably extremely creative, or something which is extremely destructive. And unless a proper channelizing happens, then I feel cases of destruction are always going to be on the rise. And moreover, uh, music helps, all these kids channelize these extra energies and bring them to a good level of focus. It brings them in touch with their human side. Probably during the 80th or the 82nd session, which Rajulji had organized, I was a part of it as well. There was a very senior educationist who said, "We just do not want to be a superpower. We want to be leaders. We want to have leaders. And we need to have individuals who know their responsibilities. And responsible leaders are not products of something which is of a short duration. They need to be exposed to holistic development. And this holistic development doesn't happen at the level of a post graduation or the level of a graduation. It starts fundamentally, it starts at the root. And as early as early childhood care. And I feel the regulation of the preschool level, which is prescribed in the NEP, it is a very, very, very important move. And I feel these children who are exposed to these holistic learning, you give the children an opportunity to get exposed to various kinds of subjects, or vocational education. They will develop into individuals who are able to think independently. They will be decision makers, and they will need to learn to tackle difficult and tough situations, and music will always be there to help them. But introducing a music program like this across the country will require some kind of an expertise. We also have addressed the fact, like Jaswinderji just mentioned, that there is a dearth of instructors. There is a shortage of experienced instructors. Now, this is where we come in, specifically when it comes to music. And also, we have to understand there are going to be huge costs for infrastructure. So, we are not just music teachers, we are a 360-degree music education solution provider. We provide an overall solution for music in the form of equipment, like I said, 25, 30 keyboards, 25, 30 guitars, drum kits, drum pads, practice pads, etc. And we provide curriculum, we provide training, and the teachers as well. And overall, I feel for this NEP to absorb all these new dynamics, there need to be a good integration of theory and application. And I feel in the coming days, when the rubrics are laid down, I think there are more guidelines and we will know how to go about executing the program across the country. And for music education, I feel that there needs to be a strong integration of theory and application. Over to you, Rajulji.
Thank you, Savio, for that and for sharing how music can increase the efficiency in academics. Thank you with that. Now, I would invite Dr. Anjali Priyadashini ji. Anjali ma'am, you represent that higher, education part of our world, education world. This NEP also proposes a more strong, I would say, a connection between the school education and higher education. It talks about vocational education. It talks about the 10 days training. It also talks about more exposure to the real the 21st age skill sets. So I would request if we can have your perspective on that, Dr. Anjali Priyadashini ji.
Thank you, sir, and a very good afternoon to all. So, as Rajan said, he said कि we depend a lot on the school education, because national education, this new education policy, it lays a lot of emphasis on intradisciplinary thing, teaching in regional language or mother tongue, as well as vocational training. So all these things needs to be implemented from the school itself. The what I think is a major concern is, as Jaswinder sir also said, ki we are having so many regional languages, but the students, though they are comfortable in the regional languages, all the regional languages do not